So today is October 27th, 2014, and we're at Andersonville National Cemetery. And I want to share some information, some details on modern burials here that some of you may be interested in. But another reason that I'm here is to put focus on what I think is an atrocity of the office of the cemetery director. Something that happened here that I'd like to share and document. We're in the modern section, one of the modern sections that are here at the cemetery, to where I think this section starts in 1979 through present. In Andersonville, because of the size of the cemetery, back 30, 40, 45 years ago, they started burying spouses together. And the way they did this to contain space, but also make it so that one spouse is not on one side of the cemetery and one to the other, is they double stack. They make arrangements ahead of time so that when one spouse passes away, they do a double deep vault. And when the second one passes, they simply open the vault, re-enter the second burial, and they replace the first headstone with a new stone, which has the information of both deceased, one side on each, one person's name on each side. And this is the case of, we'll walk over to this one here to show an example of that, is Thomas Berlin. This gravestone marks his information where he passed away on November 25th, 1988. And if we go to the back side of the gravestone, which is section I, 1634, we'll see his wife's name, Shirley May Berlin, May of 2009. So she died after he did, and they're both buried in the same grave, and respectfully the headstone has both of their information. Now the sad thing that I'm about to document is going to make a lot of you very angry. The gravestone right next to it, section I, grave 1633. You'll see there's no information on the back side of the stone. And if we go around to the front side of it, this marks the grave of Inger A., wife of Major Sergeant James H. Frawley, United States Marine Corps. Now she died in 1988. And the strange thing is, as most of you know, I take photographs down here for people for free. It's been said that I have a business, but it's not a business. I do it for free. And I had a request for a James Harlan Fraley, this lady's husband, and the request was for his gravestone. Now I looked it up, and the Andersonville records show he's in section I, grave 1633. And I went to the National Grave Locator site, which is operated by the Veterans Administration, and it also shows him in grave section I, 1633 here at Andersonville. Now I went to the office after I found this about 2 weeks ago, to the museum, where I checked their database, and it showed the same thing. Now I happened to speak to one of the rangers here, and I was curious to whether maybe he was in a different part of the cemetery for some reason and was just documented incorrectly, and the data was wrong, and she said she would she'd check into it and get back to me. Well, she did. Very simply, he is buried here. His gravestone was never replaced, never put here. He is now laying on this date in an unmarked grave in a national cemetery. James Fraley died September 8th, 2008. He has laid here in an unmarked grave for 6 years. What a horrific act of the administrator, the cemetery administrator, to simply forget to order his headstone. Now I'm sure that it'll be pointed that it's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault. She has a history of that. And wouldn't surprise me if she blamed me because there are personal issues that she has with me. Now, her Facebook profile, she proudly says that she is director of cemeteries or cemetery director or something of that sort since 2006. So she was filling that slot for 2 years before this mistake was made. Now, I'm not going to say it was made intentionally. I'm just saying that it is a sad derelict of duties to forget to order a headstone for somebody. Now, the ranger who was so helpful to me, she told me that the headstone has now been ordered, and I'll document that later whenever it is placed here at the grave. But then I started thinking, how many others over the past 8 years could be out here under an unmarked headstone simply because the headstone was not it wasn't replaced, it wasn't ordered, it was overlooked. James Fraley could have laid here for eternity and never have a headstone marking his grave in a national cemetery. That should infuriate any veteran. It should make any family of veteran just livid. And anybody who has any kind of love or respect for the sacrifice that these people made should be just absolutely beside themselves that this is allowed to happen. The person who holds this position should be held accountable, and it's just unbelievable to me that this happened. You know, so many of you know my story here at Andersonville. I've been a historian here for 14 years. I disconnected myself with the National Park Service because of this, because of these unethical acts. Many others that are just unreported, many that were reported and the Park Service completely ignores. And people ask me, why do you still volunteer for the public at Andersonville and do this? This is why. 20,000 reasons here is why I still continue doing what I do. I'm going to be looked at as the bad guy in this situation. And I just want to find out, there's got to be a process to make sure this doesn't happen again. There's got to be a process to be able to go back. And if they have to go to every gravestone and compare it to records and make sure that everybody who was buried here is documented and has a government headstone. This is the recognition that this man existed. And it's not here because somebody forgot to order a headstone. Please. If there's any questions, email me at andersonvillehistorian@gmail.com, and I'll direct you into what maybe you can do to help me, just to straighten this out, make sure it doesn't happen again. And it's got to be, somebody has to go back and verify that it hasn't happened before, and there's got to be something done to make sure it doesn't happen again. Thank you.